pleaser, you're my only hope. Those were the words that froze Maria in place as the billionaire clutched her hand, tears in his eyes. He wasn't asking for money or food or even his health back. He was asking a maid to heal a wound no doctor could ever touch in the daughter he thought he had lost forever. If you want to know how a quiet housekeeper became the key to his last wish, stay with this story until the end. Before we dive in, drop your city in the comments. We'd love to know where you're watching from. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss another powerful story like this. Now let's continue. Maria Rodriguez was a maid. Every morning at 6 o'clock, her cheap little alarm clock would ring in her tiny apartment. She would reach over, slap the button, and take one long, deep breath. For a moment, she would just lie there listening to the quiet sounds of the building, the pipes humming, a neighbor's radio playing softly, footsteps in the hallway. Then she would whisper, "Thank you for another day," swing her legs out of bed, and feel the cold floor under her bare feet. Her apartment was small, one room with a bed, a little table, a stove that sometimes worked, and a bathroom with a leaky faucet. The paint on the walls was peeling. The window glass had a thin crack in the corner, but Maria kept everything clean. The bed was always made, the dishes were always washed, and on the table, in an old jar she used as a vase, there was always at least one flower, even if it was just a wild flower she found on the sidewalk. She put on her burgundy uniform and tied the white apron around her waist. She checked herself in the cracked mirror, fixed a loose hair, and smiled at her own reflection. "You can do it, Maria," she would tell herself quietly. One more day. Outside, the morning air was cool and sharp. The sky was still dark, with just a hint of light along the edge. She walked 3 blocks to the bus stop, her shoes clicking softly on the sidewalk. Cars passed by. A street cleaner rumbled in the distance. Somewhere, a dog barked. Maria climbed onto the bus with the other early workers, the cooks, the cleaners, the security guards, the nurses coming off night shifts. Everyone looked tired. Some people closed their eyes. Some stared at their phones. Some just looked out the window. Maria quietly held on to the metal pole and watched the city roll by. She liked to imagine stories about the people she saw, where they were going, what they were dreaming about, what made them smile. After almost an hour, the bus turned onto a quiet, rich street. The houses got bigger and bigger, the trees taller, the fences higher. Finally, the bus stopped in front of the biggest house of them all, the mansion. It had 20 rooms. From the outside, you could see tall windows with golden curtains. When the sun rose, those curtains glowed like melted sunshine. The front door was tall and heavy, with shiny brass handles. On each side of the wide stone steps were big flower pots filled with colorful flowers that changed with the seasons. Behind the house, hidden from the road, was a garden larger than a park. There were fountains, stone benches, and rows of roses, all carefully cut and watered. There were tall trees that whispered when the wind moved through their leaves. Sometimes, when she had a moment alone, Maria would stand by one of those trees and close her eyes, pretending she was back in the small village where she grew up. This grand place belonged to Mr. Robert Harrison. Mr. Harrison was one of the richest men in the country. He owned office towers downtown. He owned several big companies. He owned expensive cars, private planes, and even a yacht. People wrote about him in magazines. His face sometimes appeared on TV when they talked about money and business. On paper, he had everything. But if you stood close to him and looked into his eyes, you would see something different. He always looked a little tired, even when he was well-dressed. His shoulders were straight, but his eyes were heavy. When he walked through the mansion, the rooms felt colder, like the air around him carried a quiet sadness. Maria had worked for Mr. Harrison for 5 years. In those 5 years, she saw a lot. She saw how he ate alone at the long dining table meant for 10 people, his plate at one end, the other chairs empty. She saw how he spent late nights in the library, sitting in his big leather chair, staring at the fire or at nothing at all. She saw how he sometimes stopped in the hallway, looked at a family photo on the wall, then quickly turned away. He had money, yes, but he seemed to have no one. Maria cleaned his rooms, made his bed, ironed his shirts, and sometimes cooked his meals. She knew how he liked his coffee, 1 spoon of sugar, no cream. She knew he preferred his toast slightly burnt. She knew he liked his soup hot but not boiling. But she also knew something else. She knew that when she said, "Good morning, sir," he always paused for a second, like the word surprised him. She knew that when she left flowers on his desk, he would sometimes touch the petals gently before he sat down. She knew that when she hummed soft songs while dusting, he sometimes turned off the TV and just listened. Most rich people didn't see their maids. They moved around them like the maids were invisible. But Mr. Harrison saw Maria. Little by little, he began to really see her. He noticed her kindness, her gentle spirit, the way she treated his things with care, even the smallest items, the way she spoke politely to everyone, from the driver to the gardener to the cook. He never said all this out loud, but in his heart, he knew Maria was different. One Tuesday morning, everything changed. Maria walked into the library to dust the shelves, just like she did every Tuesday at 9. The library was her favorite room. It smelled like leather and old paper. Sunlight streamed in through the tall windows, making warm squares of light on the rug. The heavy shelves were full of books of every size and color. Mr. Harrison was sitting in his big leather chair by the window. That wasn't unusual, but the way he looked was. His skin was pale. His lips were dry. His hands were resting on the arms of the chair, but they were shaking. His shoulders didn't sit up straight like they usually did. They slumped forward, weighed down by something she couldn't see. "Mr. Harrison?" Maria asked softly, her heart suddenly beating faster. "Are you okay, sir? Do you need some water? Should I call someone?" He lifted his eyes slowly to look at her. There was fear there, real fear. "Maria," he said quietly, his voice rough, "please sit down. I need to talk to you." Her chest tightened. In 5 years, he had never asked her to sit with him. She placed the dust cloth on the nearest table and slowly lowered herself into the chair across from him. Her fingers twisted together in her lap. She could hear the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. She swallowed. "Yes, sir," she whispered. "What is it?" There was a long pause. He opened his mouth to speak, then closed it again. Finally, he took a deep breath that sounded like it hurt. "I'm dying, Maria," he said. The words were simple, but they hit her like a storm. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out at first. "What?" she finally managed. No, that can't be right. What do you mean, dying?" "The doctors told me last week," he continued. "I have a sickness, cancer, a very bad kind. They say it's too late to fix it. They say I have maybe 3 months, maybe less." The room felt suddenly smaller, like the walls were closing in. Maria's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice breaking. "I'm so sorry, sir. That's not fair. It's not fair at all." He watched her quietly as tears slid down her face. She wiped them away with the back of her hand, embarrassed, but they kept coming. "You're crying?" he asked softly. "For me?" "Of course," she said. "You're a good man. You've been good to me. You gave me a job when I needed it. You don't deserve this." He looked away, staring at the window, at the bright morning sky outside. "I don't know if I'm a good man," he murmured. "I've made mistakes. Big ones. Some I can never fix." He was quiet again. Maria waited, listening to his breathing, feeling the weight of the moment settle over them like a heavy blanket. "Maria," he said at last, "I have a dying wish, and I need your help." Maria wiped the last of her tears and leaned forward. "Anything, Mr. Harrison. If I can help you, I will. Just tell me." He took another deep breath. His hands gripped the arms of the chair a little tighter. "I have a daughter," he said slowly. "Her name is Emily. She's 25 now." Maria blinked. "A daughter?" she repeated. I didn't know you had a daughter." "Almost no one does," he answered sadly. "Emily and I haven't spoken in 7 years." He let the number hang in the air. "We had a terrible fight when she was 18. She loved art. She loved painting more than anything. She would stay up late, covered in paint, creating these beautiful pictures. She wanted to go to art school, live in a small apartment, and paint." He gave a small, sad smile. "But I didn't want that for her," he continued. "I wanted her to run my business one day. I wanted her to be strong and powerful, and like me. I told her art was foolish. I told her it wouldn't pay the bills. I told her she needed to be serious. His hands trembled more now. I said terrible things in anger. I told her she was wasting her life. I told her if she walked out that door to chase her silly dream, she shouldn't come back. He swallowed hard. She left that same night, 2 bags. That's all she took. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "You'll never understand me." And then she was gone. I thought she would call. I thought she would apologize, but she never did. He lowered his head, and I was too proud to pick up the phone, too stubborn to say I was sorry. 7 years, Maria. 7 years with no daughter. 7 years of eating alone. 7 years of empty holidays. And now I'm dying, and all I can think about is all that lost time. Maria's own heart ached. She thought about the long phone calls she made to her mom and younger brother back home, how she saved part of every paycheck to send them money. The idea of 7 years of silence felt like a nightmare. "Where is she now?" Maria asked gently. "I hired someone to find her a few months ago," he said. "She lives in a small apartment across town. She teaches art to children at a community center. She doesn't have much money, but the person I hired said she smiles a lot, that she laughs with the kids, that she looks alive, happy, doing exactly what she always wanted." A tear slipped down his cheek. "So what is your dying wish, sir?" Maria asked quietly. He looked straight into her eyes. "I want to see her again," he said. "Just once, before I die. I want to look her in the eyes and tell her I was wrong. I want her to know I'm proud of her for following her dream. But if I call, she'll hang up. If I go to her door, she'll slam it in my face. I know I earned that." He paused. His voice cracked on the next words. "Maria, I want you to go to her. I want you to knock on her door and speak for me. Tell her her father is dying. Tell her he is sorry. Tell her he is proud of her. And ask if she will come see me. Just one last time." Maria felt like the air had been sucked out of her lungs. This wasn't a small task. This wasn't mopping a floor or polishing silver. This was walking straight into a stranger's pain. This was asking a broken heart to open up again. "Mr. Harrison, I don't know if I can do that," she said softly. "What if she screams at me? What if she slams the door? What if she thinks I'm lying? What if she never forgives you?" "Then I'll die knowing I tried," he answered. "But if I do nothing, if I just sit here and wait for the end, I'll die with this regret burning inside of me. Please, Maria, you're the only one I trust to do this. When you talk, people listen. You have a way of touching hearts. You touch mine, and I thought it was made of stone." He reached out slowly, and for the first time he took her hand. "Help me, Maria. Please, help me see my daughter again." Her eyes filled with tears all over again. She looked at his shaking hand on top of hers. She felt his fear, his regret, his love. How could she say no? She took a deep breath. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll go to her. I don't know what will happen, but I promise you, I'll try my very best." His shoulders dropped, like a heavy weight had slipped off them. "Thank you," he said, his voice barely audible. "Thank you more than I can say." That night, Maria barely slept. She lay awake in her little bed, staring at the ceiling. Questions chased each other through her mind. What if Emily hates me the moment she hears I work for her father? What if she slams the door without listening? What if she cries? What if I fail? But under all that fear, there was one tiny steady feeling. Hope. Her day off came. Most weeks, Maria used that day to rest, to wash her clothes by hand, to talk longer with her family on the phone. But not this time. She woke up before her alarm, heart already racing. She put on her best outfit, not her maid uniform, but a simple blue dress and a light jacket. She wanted to look respectful, not threatening. She checked the folded piece of paper in her pocket 3 times. On it, Emily's address and apartment number. Outside, the sky was cloudy, the air cool. It felt like the world itself was holding its breath. Maria took one bus, then another. With each stop, she felt more nervous. She held the paper in her hand now, her thumb rubbing the corner round and soft. The rich houses disappeared behind her. The tall trees and big yards turned into smaller buildings. laundry hanging on balconies, kids playing on cracked sidewalks. Music drifted from open windows. Car horns honked. Voices called to each other across the street. At last, she stood in front of an old brick building. Some of the bricks were chipped. A few windows had curtains with little rips at the bottom. On the steps, there was chalk drawing from children. Sun, flowers, a crooked heart. Maria took a deep breath and walked up the stairs. Her heart pounded in her chest loud enough that it felt like it echoed in the stairwell. Second floor, third floor, apartment 3B. The door was simple, with paint peeling around the edges. The number 3 hung a bit crooked. She raised her hand and knocked. For a few seconds, nothing happened. She heard a TV from another apartment. Someone laughed down the hall. Inside 3B, it was quiet. She almost turned away. Then the lock clicked. The door opened. A young woman stood in the doorway. She had brown hair pulled back in a messy bun. A thin streak of blue paint ran along her wrist and up to her elbow. Her jeans were covered in colorful splashes as if she used them as a canvas when she ran out of paper. Her t-shirt had little holes near the bottom. But her eyes were just like Mr. Harrison's. Same color, same shape, same depth. "Yes," the woman said. "Can I help you?" "Emily Harrison," Maria asked carefully. The woman's face changed. Her jaw tensed. The light in her eyes darkened. "I don't use that last name anymore," she said. "It's just Emily. Who are you?" "My name is Maria," she answered, her voice gentle. I work for your father." The door moved as Emily's hand tightened on it. "I don't have a father," Emily said coldly. "Not anymore. Whatever he wants, the answer is no." She started to close the door. "Wait, please," Maria said quickly. The panic in her own voice surprised her. "Just give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And I promise if you still want me to leave, I'll go and never bother you again." Emily hesitated. She looked Maria up and down, at her simple dress, her tired eyes, her shaking hands. Finally, she sighed. "Fine. 5 minutes." She opened the door wider. "Come in," she said quietly. Maria stepped inside. The apartment was small, much smaller than the rooms in the mansion, but it was warm. The couch was old but covered with a bright blanket. A little table held brushes, paint tubes, and jars of cloudy water. Canvases were everywhere, leaning against walls on chairs stacked in a corner. Paintings of flowers bursting with color, paintings of children laughing, paintings of city streets at sunset. Some were soft and calm, others were wild and full of movement. Maria couldn't help it. "Your paintings are beautiful," she said. "Thanks," Emily said, still guarded. "Sit down. You have 4 minutes left." They sat at a small kitchen table. Maria folded her hands to keep them from shaking. She took a deep breath. "Your father is dying," she said, quietly but clearly. Emily didn't move for a second. The words seemed to bounce off an invisible wall around her. "So?" she said finally. Her voice was flat as a closed door. "He has maybe 3 months," Maria continued. "Maybe less. He has cancer. The doctors can't help him anymore. Emily, he is very sick, and he is very sorry." "Sorry?" Emily let out a short, bitter laugh. "Now he's sorry? After 7 years? Where was this sorry when I was eating instant noodles every night? When I was sharing a room with 2 other girls because I couldn't pay rent? When I was sick with the flu and had nobody to bring me medicine? Where was he then?" She shook her head, eyes beginning to shine. "Where was he?" she whispered. "When I won my first art award." Maria's heart squeezed. "I've worked for your father for 5 years," Maria said carefully. "I see him every day. That man is lonely. So lonely. He eats alone. He walks alone. He sits in that big house full of expensive things, but he might as well be in an empty room. Yes, he has money, but money doesn't hug you. Money doesn't call you on your birthday. Money doesn't say, 'I'm proud of you.' Money doesn't care if you live or die." Emily looked away. Her lower lip trembled. "Your father made a terrible mistake," Maria went on, her voice gentle. "He let his pride be bigger than his love, but now he knows. And Emily, he doesn't have much time. If you don't see him now, there might never be another chance. You might spend the rest of your life wondering, what if I had gone? What would he have said? What would I have felt? Emily's eyes filled with tears. He hurt me, Maria, she said, deeply. He made me feel like my dreams were trash, like I was trash. I'm not asking you to forgive him today, Maria said softly. Maybe you never will. That's between you and your heart. All I'm asking is this. Come and hear what he has to say. One time, not for him, for you, so that you will never have to wonder later. Silence. The little clock on the wall ticked. Emily stared at her hands on the table. A small drop of blue paint stained one of her fingers. Finally, she whispered, I'll think about it. Maria nodded. She took out a small piece of paper, wrote her phone number on it, and slid it across the table. Please call me, she said. Soon. Time is running out. 3 days passed. Maria went back to work like normal, but nothing felt normal anymore. Every time her phone buzzed in her pocket, her heart jumped. Every time it didn't, her heart sank. Mr. Harrison noticed. Did she say yes? He would ask. Will she come? And every day Maria had to say, Not yet, sir. She said she would think about it. Please, don't lose hope. At night, Maria lay awake, staring at the ceiling again. She pictured Emily pacing back and forth in her apartment. She pictured Emily throwing the paper with Maria's number into the trash. She pictured her picking it back out again. On the fourth day, Maria was cleaning the kitchen counters when her phone buzzed. Her hands were wet, her heart pounding as she hurried to dry them on her apron. Hello, she answered. Maria, a quiet voice said. It's Emily. Maria closed her eyes for a second, relief washing over her. Yes, Emily, I'm here, she said. Are you okay? No, Emily answered honestly, but I've made a decision. I'll come. I'll see him. But I have one condition. What is it? Maria asked. I want you there, Emily said. I don't want to walk into that house alone. I don't trust him, but I trust you. You feel safe. Maria's throat tightened. Of course, she said softly. I'll be right by your side. The next day, Maria woke up even earlier than normal. Her hands moved fast but carefully as she worked. She cleaned the sitting room until it sparkled. She polished the table. She opened the curtains wide so light flooded in. She placed fresh flowers, Emily's favorite colors according to Mr. Harrison, in a vase. She brewed tea and baked simple cookies herself. Even though they had a chef, because she wanted this to feel warm, not formal. Mr. Harrison kept asking, do you think she'll really come? What if she changes her mind? What if she's just being kind to you? Maria would place a gentle hand on his arm. She's coming, she would say softly. I can feel it. When the doorbell finally rang, Maria's hands started to shake. Her heart pounded so hard she could feel it in her throat. She walked to the front door and opened it. There stood Emily, wearing jeans and a clean shirt, her hair pulled back. She looked brave on the outside, but Maria could see the fear in her eyes. Thank you for coming, Maria said. You're very strong. I know this isn't easy. Emily's lips pressed together. I almost turned around 5 times on the way here, she admitted. My stomach feels like it's full of rocks. That's okay, Maria said softly. Scared people can still do brave things. Come, I'll stay with you. They walked down the long hallway together. Emily's steps slowed as they neared the sitting room. Is he in there? She asked. Yes, Maria replied. He's been waiting all morning. They stepped into the room. Mr. Harrison was sitting in his usual chair by the window, wearing a simple sweater and soft pants. He looked smaller somehow, weaker. But when he saw Emily, he struggled to stand up, his hands gripping the armrests. Emily, he whispered. Tears filled his eyes on the first word. My beautiful girl, you came. Emily stood very still just inside the doorway. Her face was pale. Her hands were balled into fists at her sides. Hello, Father, she said. For a moment, nobody moved. The clock on the wall ticked, but the room felt like time had stopped. Then slowly something happened that Maria would never forget for the rest of her life. Mr. Harrison got down on his knees. This man, this billionaire, who owned skyscrapers and jets. This man who commanded boardrooms and made people nervous with one look. He knelt on the floor in front of his daughter. It was not smooth or easy. His knees hit the rug hard. He winced, but he stayed there looking up at her. "Emily," he said, his voice shaking, "I was wrong about everything. I should have supported your dreams. I should have told you I loved you no matter what you chose. I should have called you the day after you left and begged you to forgive me. I was a terrible father. I let my pride and fear be bigger than my love. I am so sorry." Tears streamed down his face. "I don't deserve your forgiveness," he continued. "I know that. But before I die, I need you to know something. I am proud of you. So proud. You followed your heart. You did what made you happy. That takes more courage than any deal I ever made. You are braver than me, stronger than me, better than me." Emily's face crumpled. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Why did it take you 7 years?" she cried. "Why did it take you dying to say these words?" "Because I was a fool," Mr. Harrison said simply. "A proud, stubborn fool. I wasted 7 years because I couldn't say, I was wrong. Don't make my mistake, Emily. Don't waste your life holding on to anger, even if you never forgive me. Please, give me a chance to know you again, even if it's just for a few weeks. Let me be your father again before I go." Maria stood by the doorway, her own heart breaking. She watched as Emily's shoulders shook. Then Emily did something that made Maria's tears flow even harder. Emily slowly sank to her knees too. Father and daughter side by side, both kneeling on the rug, both crying. "Okay," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. "Okay, Dad. I'm here now. I don't know what I can forgive yet, but I'm here. And I'm not leaving today." They leaned forward and hugged. It wasn't perfect, it was messy and tearful, but it was real, and in that moment, something broken began to heal. From that day on, everything changed in the mansion. For the next 6 weeks, Emily came to the house almost every day. Sometimes she stayed only an hour. Sometimes she stayed all afternoon. But she always came. Maria watched quietly as father and daughter rebuilt what had been broken. Emily brought her paintings. She spread them out on the table. Mr. Harrison looked at each one carefully, asking questions. "What were you feeling when you painted this?" he would ask. "What does this color mean to you? Tell me about this child in the picture." Emily would talk, and he would listen. Really listen, like nothing else in the world mattered. Sometimes he cried when he saw how talented she was. Sometimes she laughed at the stories behind certain pieces. He also learned about her life. The tiny apartments, the part-time jobs, the art shows with cheap plastic cups of juice, the children at the community center who called her Miss E and hugged her legs. He even went to her class one day in a wheelchair since he was getting weaker. He watched as Emily stood in front of a group of kids holding crayons and brushes. "You're not just teaching them art," he told her later. "You're teaching them to believe in themselves. You're giving them something nobody can take away." He turned to Maria then. "Just like you did for me," he said. Emily frowned. "What do you mean?" Mr. Harrison smiled weakly. "Maria never treated me like a billionaire," he explained. "She treated me like a person. She asked how I was, even when I wasn't very kind. She brought me flowers when nobody else did. She had the courage to go find you when I asked. She walked into your pain so that I could see you again. She gave me the greatest gift anyone has ever given me." Emily stood up, walked over to Maria, and hugged her tightly. "Thank you," she whispered into Maria's ear. "Thank you for not giving up on us." Maria hugged her back. "Families are worth fighting for," she said softly. Those 6 weeks were not perfect. Some days Emily was angry and quiet. Some days Mr. Harrison was in pain and tired. Sometimes they argued in small ways. Old wounds don't heal overnight. But there was also laughter, gentle at first, then stronger. There were shared memories and new ones being made. There were moments when Maria would walk down the hallway and hear father and daughter laughing together in the library, and her eyes would fill with happy tears. Yet as the days passed, Mr. Harrison's body grew weaker. His steps slowed, his voice got softer, he spent more time in bed. The doctors came more often and stayed longer. Everyone knew what was coming. One quiet morning, when the sky outside the bedroom window was gray and soft, Mr. Harrison called Maria and Emily in. He was propped up on pillows, his skin pale, his breathing slow. "I need to tell you something," he said. "Dad, you should be resting," Emily said, sitting on the edge of the bed and taking his hand. "This can't wait," he replied gently. "I've changed my will." "Dad, I don't care about your money," Emily said right away. "I just wanted you. I don't need—" "Let me finish," he said with a small smile. "I know you didn't come for money. That's exactly why you deserve it." He took a breath. "Emily, I'm leaving you half of everything. Half of the mansion, half of the businesses, half of the money. It's all in the papers now. Your half is yours to do with as you wish." Tears filled Emily's eyes. "Dad, I want you to open your own art school," he continued. "A place where young artists don't have to choose between their passion and paying the bills. A place where kids who were like you, full of color but short on money, can learn and grow." Then he turned his head slowly toward Maria. "Maria," he said. She stepped closer. "Yes, sir? I'm leaving you the other half." For a moment, Maria thought she hadn't heard correctly. "Me?" she whispered. "No. No, Mr. Harrison, that can't be right. I'm just a maid. I don't need—" "Yes, you," he said firmly. "You gave me something no doctor, no lawyer, no businessman could give. You gave me hope. You gave me my daughter back. You showed me what real kindness looks like. You never asked for anything. You never tried to impress me. You love people, not money. That's why I trust you with it." "But sir—" "No buts," he said, a little strength returning to his voice. "You and Emily will share everything, and I know deep in my heart that the two of you together will use it to make the world better. That is my dying wish now, not just to see my daughter. That wish you already granted, Maria. My new wish is that you two work together. Help people. Spread kindness. Promise me." Maria looked at Emily. Emily looked at Maria. Their eyes were full of tears, but also something else now. Determination. "We promise," they said together. "Good," Mr. Harrison whispered. "Then I can go in peace." 3 days later, in the middle of a quiet night, Mr. Harrison's time came. The bedroom was dimly lit by a lamp. Soft music played in the background, an old song he loved from his youth. Emily held one of his hands. Maria held the other. He looked at his daughter. "I love you, Emily," he said, his voice barely more than a breath. "I love you too, Dad," she replied, tears streaming down her face. He turned his head slightly toward Maria. "Take care of her," he whispered. "I will," Maria said. "I promise." With a small, peaceful smile on his face, Mr. Harrison took one last slow breath, and then another didn't come. He was gone. Emily laid her head on the bed and cried. Maria leaned over them both, crying too. It was a sad moment, but under that sadness, there was also peace. He had not died alone. He had not died full of regret. He had died holding the hands of two people who truly loved him. The funeral was big. People came from all over. Business partners in black suits, workers from his companies, neighbors from the rich street, even a few people from the charity events he had supported. Some came because they respected him. Some came because it was the right thing to do. Some came because they were curious. But at the front of the church, sitting side by side, were Emily and Maria, two women with red eyes and heavy hearts, united by the same man for very different reasons. After the funeral, the family lawyer gathered a small group in a quiet room to read the will. Emily sat on one side of the table. Maria sat beside her, feeling out of place in her simple dress, surrounded by men in expensive suits. The lawyer opened a thick folder and began to read. As he reached the part about Emily and Maria, the room changed. People shifted in their seats. A few gasped loudly. "A maid," one man muttered under his breath, not quietly enough. "Half his fortune to a maid?" Another man shook his head. He must have been confused. "She probably pushed him into this." Whispers grew. "That maid must have tricked him. She must have taken advantage while he was sick." Maria felt her face burn, her hands clenched in her lap. For a moment, shame washed over her, even though she had done nothing wrong. Before she could say a word, Emily stood up so quickly her chair scraped loud against the floor. "Enough!" Emily said, her voice clear and strong. The room fell silent. Maria didn't trick anyone. If anything, she saved my father's life in the only way that really mattered. She looked around the room, her eyes blazing. My father died in peace because Maria helped him fix what he broke. She brought me back to him. She held his hand when he was scared. She loved him when many of you only loved his money. She deserves every penny he left her. And if anyone has a problem with that, you are free to walk out that door right now. Nobody moved. Nobody walked out. Maria felt a hand slip into hers. Emily squeezed it tightly. Dad made the right choice, Emily added, and Maria and I are going to honor it. Now here's where the story becomes truly amazing. Remember Maria, the humble maid who took 2 buses to work every day? The woman who counted every dollar? The woman who sometimes skipped dinner so she could send more money to her family? Overnight, she became one of the richest women in the city. People asked, what will she do now? Will she buy a huge mansion of her own? Will she buy 10 cars? Will she travel the world and never work again? Maria herself spent many nights sitting at her little table thinking. Her new house was already waiting. A comfortable, modest home she'd picked with Emily's help. Not a palace, but safe and warm, with enough rooms for her and, if they ever moved, her family. She could have stopped there, but Maria's heart was not built to sit still. She thought about Mr. Harrison's last wish, about Emily's talent, about the children in poor neighborhoods who would never get to paint or dance because their parents were too busy surviving. And slowly, a brave idea grew. Together, Maria and Emily created the Second Chance Foundation. They chose the name carefully. Because that's what Dad got, Emily explained, a second chance to make things right. And that's what we're going to give other people. The foundation did 3 big things. First, they opened free art schools in poor neighborhoods. Not just 1, but 10 over the next few years. Each school had bright walls, clean tables, and shelves full of supplies. Paint, brushes, clay, musical instruments, costumes for plays. Children who had never touched a real paintbrush before now painted whole forests, oceans, and galaxies. Second, they started a program to help struggling families. When a family was about to lose their home, the foundation stepped in to pay rent for a few months. When the fridge was empty, volunteers delivered groceries. When someone needed medicine and couldn't afford it, the foundation quietly covered the bill. Sometimes they helped with school fees or bus passes so kids could keep going to class. Third, and this was Maria's favorite, they created the Dignity Project. The Dignity Project offered good jobs with fair pay to people who cleaned, cooked, and did other service work. Housekeepers, janitors, maids, hotel cleaners, people like Maria. They gave them benefits, health insurance, paid time off, and training. They made sure bosses treated them with respect. Every person deserves dignity, Maria said at the first opening ceremony. She stood at a small podium, her heart pounding, but her voice steady. My life changed because someone finally saw me, not just as a maid, but as a human being. Mr. Harrison taught me that one act of kindness can open doors you never see. Now I want to open doors for others. News reporters came. They took photos of Maria and Emily cutting ribbons. Articles were written with headlines like, "The Maid Who Became a Miracle," and "Billionaire's Fortune Turned into Hope." People on the internet argued. Some said, she should have kept the money. Others said, no, she did the right thing. Look at all the people being helped. Maria didn't worry about the arguments. She wasn't doing it to be famous. She was doing it because it felt right. One afternoon, a teenage boy walked into the foundation office. His eyes were red like he'd been crying. Are you Maria? He asked. Yes, sweetheart, she said kindly. What's wrong? You saved my family, he said, his voice shaking. My dad got hurt at work and couldn't walk for months. We were going to lose our apartment. We had no food. Then someone told my mom to apply to your program. You paid our rent. You sent groceries. You even helped pay for my dad's therapy. He's back at work now. We still have our home. You saved us. Maria felt tears instantly fill her eyes. She came around the desk and hugged him. That's what Mr. Harrison wanted, she whispered. That's what this money is for. Not for gold things on shelves, but for hearts, for families, for hope. 1 year after Mr. Harrison passed away, The mansion looked different. It was no longer a quiet, lonely place. On many days, the rooms rang with children's laughter and music. The long dining table, once set for one, now held many plates as volunteers, teachers, and guests shared meals together. On the anniversary of his passing, Maria and Emily drove to the cemetery together, carrying fresh flowers. The sky was blue with soft clouds moving slowly. Birds sang in the trees. They stood quietly at Mr. Harrison's grave. "Do you think he's proud of us?" Emily asked, gently placing the flowers on the stone. Maria smiled softly. "I know he is," she said. "Look at what has grown from that one hard conversation. Look at the children painting. Look at the families still in their homes. Look at the workers who can go to the doctor now. His choice, your forgiveness, it all became something beautiful." Emily slipped her arm around Maria's shoulders. "You know," Emily said, "I lost my dad for 7 years, but I gained a sister. You're my family now, Maria." "And you're mine," Maria replied, leaning against her. They stood there together for a long moment, letting the wind move around them, feeling both the sadness of loss and the warmth of gratitude. The foundation continued to grow. More art schools opened, more families received help. More workers joined the Dignity Project and walked a little straighter, knowing their work mattered. And Maria, she still woke up early every morning. She still made her bed carefully. She still liked to start her day with a quiet, "Thank you." But now, instead of taking 2 buses to clean someone else's house, she drove to the foundation office in a simple car. She answered emails from people asking for help. She visited art classes and watched children create worlds out of color. She checked on workers and listened when they talked about their struggles. She still smiled at everyone. She still asked, "How are you feeling today?" and waited for the real answer. Sometimes at the end of a long day, she would sit in Mr. Harrison's old chair in the library. The mansion was now the main office of the foundation, full of staff and volunteers. But that chair was still in its place by the window. She would look out at the garden and whisper, "We're doing it, sir. We're keeping your last promise." People often asked her, "What is it like, Maria, going from a maid to a millionaire overnight?" She always smiled. "The money didn't change who I am," she would say. "Mr. Harrison changed me. Emily changed me. They showed me that one choice, one apology, one act of courage can change many lives. I was already rich before the money, rich in kindness, rich in love, rich in hope. The money just gave me tools to share that richness with more people." Emily, standing nearby, would sometimes add, "And my dad, he died rich too. Not in dollars, but in peace, in forgiveness, in love. Maria gave him the one thing his billions could never buy. She gave him his daughter back." Every year on Mr. Harrison's birthday, Maria and Emily held a special event at the mansion. They opened the big front doors wide. Children from the art schools came in, carrying their best paintings. Families who had been helped by the foundation came to share short stories. Workers from the Dignity Project came with their families, dressed in their best clothes, smiles bright. The house that had once been cold and quiet now buzzed with life. There was music. There was dancing. There were tables with simple food and big bowls of punch. At the center of the main room, on an easel, they always placed a large photo of Mr. Harrison, not the serious business photo from magazines, but one Emily had taken during those last weeks, when he was smiling softly at one of her paintings. At some point in the evening, Maria would tap a spoon gently on a glass. "Everyone," she would call, "I want to tell you a story." People would gather around, some sitting, some standing. Children pressed close to the front. She would tell the story you just heard. The story of a lonely billionaire who let pride push away the person he loved most. The story of a brave daughter who chose forgiveness over endless anger. The story of a humble maid who dared to walk into someone else's pain and became the bridge that brought them back together. Mr. Harrison made big mistakes, Maria always said. He hurt the person he loved most, but he also did something very important. He admitted he was wrong. He said he was sorry. He asked for help. And because of that, hundreds of families have been helped. Thousands of children now believe their dreams matter. Hundreds of workers are treated with respect. One man's change of heart created a wave that is still moving today. People always wiped their eyes when she finished. So now, listener, it's your turn. What do you think of Maria's story? Was she right to give away most of the money? Some people said she should have kept it all for herself after all those years of hard work and sacrifice. Would you have done what she did, using that huge fortune to help strangers you might never even meet? And what about Emily? Was she right to forgive her father? Some people hold on to anger for a lifetime. Emily chose to open her heart, even though it hurt. Do you think she made the right choice? This story shows something powerful. It shows that it's never too late to try to make things right. It shows that forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it can heal the future. It shows that kindness is stronger than pride and that one brave "I'm sorry" can change more than one life. Mr. Harrison was a billionaire, but he died poor in the things that mattered, until Maria helped him find his way back to love. Maria was just a maid in the eyes of the world, but in the things that really count, kindness, compassion, courage, she was richer than any bank account. So the next time you see someone who serves you, a waiter, a cleaner, a delivery person, a cashier, remember Maria. Remember that every person has a story. Every person has dignity. Every person might be one kind word away from changing someone's life, maybe even yours. And if you've had a fight with someone you love, a parent, a child, a friend, remember Mr. Harrison. Don't wait 7 years. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't let pride steal time you can never get back. Sometimes 3 little sentences can save a relationship. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I love you. Those words might be the beginning of your own second chance story. Now it's your turn. What would you have done if you were Maria? Would you keep the money or build something like the Second Chance Foundation? And if you were Emily, could you forgive your father the way she did? Tell your thoughts in the comments. We really want to hear your opinion. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think about kindness, forgiveness, and what really matters in life, please subscribe to Emotional Stories. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story like this. Stories that can make you cry, make you smile, and maybe even change the way you see the world. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of our family, and remember, you don't need billions to make a difference. You just need a heart full of love and the courage to share it. Until next time, keep spreading kindness. The world needs more people like Maria.